that's cool and all, but I'm not gonna want to do that.
All right, so Noodles and Company. All right, so a quick synopsis of the case. So the case describes the dilemma of founder and CEO Aaron Kennedy as he seeks to grow the company from within while balancing the pressures of other competitors trying to push their way into the fast casual food category. As they grow, they face the difficult decision on how to meet the pace of the budding company while maintaining their culture.
All right, you got her text, right?
Yeah, let me see. All right, people. I sent one link that I accidentally only copied half of it, so maybe that's the one that's messing with her.
Yeah, because you sent that one, and then right afterwards you sent the other one.
Yeah. I like copied it and hit send. I was like, oh crap. All right. So I just sent her again. We'll wait one more second.
Yeah, so how's it poofy hair?
My computer.
Did they ever state that his wife was working?
I don't think she was. At least it didn't say anything about it.
That kind of plays a huge role on whether or not, like, it would be, I guess, considered a good idea or a bad idea that he didn't really part-time work. He did for a little bit, but
Yeah, he was like working a commission job, but I think for like a marketing agency, right? But he like one of the clients he picked up was the Denver Broncos, so I feel like that was a huge commission check for a part-time job. You know?
yeah.
Come on, why isn't it working? Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, she was working. His wife had been offered a great job in Boulder,
Oh yeah, that's why they moved to Boulder.
and then they ended up with a lot of support from her side of the family because that's where her family is.
Oh yeah.
So that probably is what really allowed him to
To
branch
have the
out.
freedom of running a company that was dying at first.
Okay. You got her text that says asking you to send it again?
Yeah, I sent it. She's in. Just
I had to use my cell phone because my daughter changed my computer to make her the administrator, and it won't let me do my Google anymore for some reason. I don't know what she did.
Oh, all right. Well, we just read the case synopsis before you jumped on, so I'll just read it again. So the case describes the dilemma of founder and CEO Aaron Kennedy as he seeks to grow the company from within while balancing the pressures of other competitors trying to push their way into a fast casual foods category. As they grow, they face the difficult decisions on how to meet the pace of the budding company while maintaining their culture. So the first kind of questions that it goes over. So the first question is, what is the fast casual segment? And I actually work at a restaurant that's technically fast casual. So it's just restaurants where they come up, they stand in line, they order, and then they kind of get their food on nicer plates. They still get the high quality food, and it's like taken out to them. So that's exactly what my restaurant does. And my regional manager always tells us, we're fast casual. We're not fast food. We're not. And so it's kind of funny. But so it's just companies that their prices are between $5 and $10 per person. And it's just, it's still quick, but it's still high quality food. So that's the kind of market they're trying to get into. So that's kind of interesting. So what challenges did you guys see Noodles facing as they tried to get into this market?
I think people weren't used to it. And at the beginning, they said their food tasted horrible. So that was bad doing the steam pots. I think it was a good move to go to frying things because we like watching things saute. It's just funner to watch.
Yeah. They actually opened a Noodles like a little ways from here a while ago, and I went there when they first opened, and I haven't gone there since because I hated their food. I got like crunchy noodles there since. So I was kind of like, I can see that.
I'm surprised they're doing so well then.
I think it was just the store. I think we went one more time and it was okay, but I still just can't go over the first time I was there. I'm just like one of those people. But the second time I went, it was okay, but I just don't like going there now. But that was like a brand new store. I think when you think about it, there's such huge competition in that industry now too. I mean, everywhere is like fast casual now. You've got like Costa Vida, Cafe Rio, Panera, and then I work at Kneaders, and then I mean, I just feel like a ton of restaurants are going that direction. I feel like that's becoming the more common place to eat for families and stuff.
Well, McDonald's is saying that they're going to be changing all their restaurants to more of a dine-in restaurant where they're bringing the food to you at your table, and that you could order on big screens before, right when you walk in, instead of ordering through people, you order on a big screen, sit down, and they'll bring the food to you. They're trying that out in a bunch of stores right now.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like Panera, actually. The last Panera I went to, they had a bunch of little monitors, and you could walk up and just order and then sit down, and they bring it to you.
Yeah, that's what Carl's Jr. has been doing for a couple of years now.
Yeah, so I think that they're in this market that everybody's trying to go to currently. So that place has a lot of challenge. And they have a really like aggressive growth plan, which could bring in a lot of struggles for them. So Noah wants us to give some analysis of Aaron and what he did. So it says, is working full-time as an employee while developing a new business a good idea or a bad idea?
I think it depends on your situation. You still have to take care of your family if you have your family, but if you're a single guy, you could probably sleep on someone's couch and put your whole time into your business.
Yeah, I feel like from the other company's point of view that you're working for, that it's probably very hard for them to deal with. So if you can create that separation, then it's okay. But if you're more focused on your business than the job that's actually paying you, then you should probably just pull out and put all your effort into that business, because you're just not giving the respect to the people who are actually paying you. So I think if you can hold the balance, then it's an okay idea, especially at the start of a business. But if you're not willing or able to hold that balance, then I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, they mention it in the article that Kennedy's wife had just gotten a great job where her family is from. So like if you can get the support, then and you're willing to take that extra sacrifice, then it's probably better to not have the job and just focus all your time on on the new business, because as soon as that new business goes, the sooner you can get that going is the sooner you can start getting something in to help make up for the sacrifices that, you know, his wife has done and all that.
I really liked how Aaron handled it as well when he was working part-time. He told that company, you know, I'll come on and I'll work part-time, but I am building my own business. I'll give you everything I can part-time, but my main focus is building this business. So I thought that was a very respectful way. And I mean, he said like he picked up some big clients for them in the marketing agency. So I feel like he handled it really well there. Okay. So do you think that Noodles Company can maintain their corporate culture through aggressive growth?
I think there's a point where you're just going to kind of not really plateau, but that in the beginning you can get that excessive growth, but then there's a point where you don't really want to have as fast of a growth. You're going to kind of want to get a, you know, not as high of a slope, but a less slope to help maintain the rest of what you're doing now and not surplus the consumer to where they see a Noodles and Company everywhere they go. That's like in California, where my parents are, you've got a McDonald's every like mile. So every mile there's another McDonald's, which is just too much. It's become too ridiculous, and it's almost like it's stupid from the consumer viewpoint. We just see it as that's retarded. So
yeah, I think of Subway. They are not anywhere near the highest like grossing revenue company, but they have the most locations out of any like restaurant. And in Rexburg alone, they have 3, and it's like you don't need 3 Subways in Rexburg. And I feel like Noodles may be too focused on expanding, and it might be time for them to step back a little if they're at this point where they're like, well, we can't expand within ourselves. We have to look at other options. I think it would be better for them to step back, lower their goal a little, and start looking more at quality expansion rather than quantity expansion.
I like the idea of them franchising because I feel like when you get your head organization to get too big, then you're going to not be able to know exactly what's going on in your company when you have hundreds and hundreds of managers helping you out and whatever. But if you have them as a franchise, they handle their own company, and you just go in every year to make sure that they're still following the name brand, following the culture that you set up, and everything is going good, but you don't have to do the day-to-day managing anymore, and you still reap the benefits from it. It turns into more of a retirement program for the original owners.
Yeah, you become more of like a monitoring body than managing, which gives you more freedom and less responsibility.
But typically with franchises, though, you give the owner a little bit more freedom too to decide for themselves what they want to do with that. At the same time, you can only limit them so much. So like McDonald's, for example, is a franchise, right? You walk into one McDonald's and it can be entirely different than another McDonald's. And I've seen it quite a bit. But if you go to an In-N-Out, which is privately owned, almost every single In-N-Out looks identical or is ran almost identical.
Yeah, I work for a franchise, and I think one of the biggest flaws is that there's so much different things between the owners. So if they do want to maintain the control, they've got to have a lot of strict, like if they want to keep the culture how it is, they need to have a lot of strict control. I was talking to a guy yesterday who came in. He lived in Colorado, and he went to an Eaters there. And he came to our store, and he says that our stores run 1,000 times better, and his food is better. And he's like, this store won't even let me add anything to my sandwich. And it's just, these are all policies that corporate sets, but they weren't following. So I think the franchising, if they put in the right controls, can be really effective, but at the same time, it also can be very dangerous.
Yeah, like to give I guess another example is Applebee's in California. My wife and I love to go. They have great food. We tried the Applebee's here in Rexburg, and the menu is entirely different. We didn't recognize anything on it. And so we don't go there because it's not the Applebee's that we know.
Yeah. But if they can maintain that culture, I think franchising is the best option as well. It's just, I think it may be a little bit more risky than some of the other ones, but it will take a lot of burden off of them. and will cut a lot more cost. All right. So do you think that Noodles and Company their strategy should be first to market or best to market?
I think it's going to be the best because they have a lot of competition. And if they're not the best tasting and the best experience for the consumers have a lot of different options to go pick to eat somewhere else. And so it doesn't matter how many stores they have, they all suck. No one's going to eat there.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. The one I went to, I just felt like they just shoved their employees on there the first day. I went there the third day they were open, and it was a terrible experience for me. So I feel like if they put forth the effort to be the best when they get there and set themselves apart from the beginning, that's huge. Because any store that opens, you can shove a store somewhere, train people in 2 days and open it. Like, that's not a hard thing to do, but making sure that you have that training, because everyone comes to your store when you first open. And if you don't have the proper training or the proper personnel ready to deal with that, then their first impression is going to be a terrible one when you first open, because you're going to be like, oh, we're just having growing pains because we're new, but those growing pains are going to affect you for years to come. So I think you need to go in with the idea that we're going to be the best we can possible straight from the start. We're going to have the best location, we're going to find the best employees, and that's how we're going to start, because that's going to build loyalty in the future. Anything else on that one? Are we all in agreement?
I agree.
All right. So we kind of covered that one. So what is it about the mantra, every guest, every bowl, every time, that helps form corporate culture? How does it drive corporate profits and structure? I think their mantra is just all about consistency, is that they want to be standardized throughout their whole company. They want to have that same, I guess, like, experience no matter where people go, seems like their main goal.
I like mantras because as a manager, you can use it to motivate your employees. Anything that you're saying for them to do for the company, you're like, yes, but this leads us to making our mantra actually happen. You can always just be like, yeah, well, we're doing this because our mantra, this is what we want, this is our goal, and so that's why we're doing whatever it is you're asking them to do.
I really like theirs. I think it's really straightforward. Every guest, every bowl, every time. Neater's is like, treat the customer in a way that creates loyal, and it's like really long, and I could never like remember it to say it to my employees. Like if I wanted to motivate them or like teach them, I'd be like, yeah, I don't remember it, it's too long. But like that one, I could be like, hey, every bowl, every guest, every time. Like that's really straightforward, and I think that really creates a culture within the company. All right. So well, we kind of already talked about that.
Pretty much.
I feel like we always cover so many of these questions, and I'm like reading down the list. I'm like, oh, we already covered that, we covered that, we covered that. So now on to the main thing. So Jessica already talked about thinking franchising was the best option. Travis, what do you think is the best way for them to continue to expand? Like, which strategy did you think was the best?
I think he should keep it within his own, to be honest. Franchising, I feel like as soon as you do that, you just told like his little kid, his company, that he doesn't care enough anymore. That other people can take him, other people can adopt his little kid. Whereas if he keeps the company within himself, he can, one, always advertise that it is family owned, or he can advertise that it's non-franchise. So we're not like McDonald's. We're not like Carl's Jr. We're not like a fast food where, we're a family. We want your family to come. Because in the whole thing, he mentions that he wants, their biggest consumer is the mother, is the, higher up, a little bit more wealthier mothers that instead of cooking, they bring their family in to have dinner or have lunch. And I think if he keeps the company within and, doesn't get so focused on trying to branch out, try to make so much money, try to do all that and just focus on the quality and keeping those stores to his great level that he wants. I mean, he got a co-CEO, with him so that he could focus on the consumer, focus on what they want so he can bond with the consumer. Keep that going. Because as soon as he franchises, he can't say, oh, I'm trying to do this to make, to bond with you guys, the consumer. So I say go back to quality. Don't care about the quantity as much. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Like I know I compare to In-N-Out a lot, but In-N-Out is only really on the West Coast. It's slowly branching out. That was because the original owner didn't want big, huge of all of that. He wanted to emphasize that it is a family thing, and then go from there. Since his daughters owned it, it's kind of gotten a little bit more out there. But he kept it with California for the most part and a little bit of Nevada, and then it's now starting to branch out. But he focused on that. He focused on the quality of the burger. And I feel like if Kennedy just focuses on that like he wanted to from the very beginning and everything, then it shouldn't matter how many stores he has, that the consumer's still going to recognize that.
Hey, Travis, do you like In-N-Out?
Just a little. But, I like Five Guys too, so.
I know, I'm just messing with you. I'm a little torn between keeping it private and franchising. I feel like if he wants to aggressively expand and meet his goals, he needs to franchise. But I feel like if he wants to stick to his mantra and his quality, and if he feels that is the direction he wants to go, he needs to keep it private. So I'm kind of split between the two. It all just depends on if he really wants to just continue to extend the brand or continue to extend the reputation, I feel like. Because there's a lot of risk in franchising. It just depends on who your franchising owner is and their care. And then a lot of times I think that, it's either he's going to have to – I'm sorry, I'm backing up. So the other side of it, though, for keeping it within himself, he's going to have to expand his corporate team, his corporate management team. He's going to have to expand a little bit slower. So I'm kind of between both of them. But I think I'm leaning more towards keeping it under his control because I feel like that's more of his goal was to just maintain quality. So what evidences did you see of any kind of poor management or bad decisions during his time? During his development of his business, I guess.
I think financially he was really screwed up in the beginning, especially. He wasn't managing his finances very well, so it was like 4 months in before he realized how much in the hole he was. And then he played a lot of catch up, and that made him so that when he got funds for the company, he ended up using most of the funds to pay back old debt to just stay afloat. Whereas if he had gone in with a plan and had put together what he needed exactly, he could have used that funds for his restaurants instead of paying back old debt that he wasn't able to keep on top of.
Definitely. Something I was talking to Travis about before you got on is I felt like at first he almost did things backwards. He had that opportunity to build the second store, but his other store wasn't making any money, and he knew there were problems to be fixed, but he had this philosophy that if the opportunity presents itself, take it. So it was almost like he just ended up having 2 bad stores at first when he could have fixed the first one and then expanded. That way, that second store wouldn't have had a bad reputation. Because especially in the food industry, it's really hard to get a reputation back once you have a bad one. There's so many people who just eat somewhere once and then they're like, oh, didn't like it, I'll never go back. And so I think he almost did it backwards where luckily he was able to recover and fix those 2 stores, but I feel like he should have fixed the first store before he open the second one, even though he had that opportunity.
Yeah, I feel like he didn't really research the locations. As soon as he was given the opportunity that, hey, there's a location open, he took it, like the second one, right? It was like the philosophy is if you're given the opportunity for a location, take it. And he did that with everything. And when he started trying to branch out, there was the one store that started losing out as soon as all of the other shops nearby, because he mentions it was like in a strip, an outside strip mall, and GNC and all these other companies started going out of business, which dropped his business down. He should have probably done some more research, figured out, because you can project and see how other businesses are doing. And you should be able to project whether or not that business is going to go out of business if they're not doing so well, or what's the odds of something going on. He never really researched them. He never did that research. He only learned with his second company when they were both starting to go down that, hey, we should go research what other good restaurants are. What do consumers want? This should have been something that he did in the very beginning, not partway through it and then go, oh crap, like we're screwing up. We got to do something.
Yeah, I think the stores that surround like your store has a huge effect on who comes, because Kneaders markets to middle-aged white women and old white women. And every Kneaders I've ever worked at is outside of a Hobby Lobby. So that's where they build, and it always works because they're right there. And it's like they would never place a Kneaders by like a liquor store, because it's just not the clientele that's attracted to come get sandwiches, soups, and salads. So like they had all these companies, but they didn't look into like if those companies would be moving soon or anything like that. So like, oh, this would be a good location, and they just went in really fast, and then the companies that draw the same clientele as them disappeared, and they were left like, oh, this location's not going to do well now. So I feel like there was a lot of other variables they could have researched, and I feel like they had that first into the market kind of strategy a little too heavy at times. That hurt them.
Yeah, we have a Jersey Mike's that just opened up in my town, and they opened it up in a really high-end mall, and the strip mall itself is actually failing. We don't have a lot of rich people here, so we were all kind of shocked it got built in the first place. And the Jersey Mike's is more of a, have you guys been to them? It's like a Subway.
Yeah.
It's the same feel as a Subway. Well, rich people don't want to be in a line getting their food in a Subway. And right next to it opened up a Mod Pizza, which is like this. It's casual dining, casual fast food. Like, it's where you get your pizza real quick, but it's a really wood fire burn pizza, and it's really nice atmosphere. They got little fire pits everywhere, really high end, and it's killing Jersey Mike's. And the owner is a friend of mine, and he's just dying. And I'm like, why did you put it there? You should have put it next to the shipyard where all the workers are, the blue collar workers who want to get lunch, and they'll just come out, get lunch, go back. I mean, you would have made bank there, but he didn't think about their location at all. He just saw a new building and he's a new place, and he's like, oh, it's going to be new. And I'm like, that doesn't mean it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's really just, you got to go where your clientele is, and that's huge. Yeah. I feel like there's always those restaurants opening and no one ever goes to because they just open in the wrong location. Okay. So was there anything that you saw in this case study that related to the gospel principles or this week's reading?
Well, I liked in it how he had all his employees know, I can't remember quite. He had them all know their sales for the month or something. And then if they did more than that, then all his employees got a bonus. And in that store. And I thought that was kind of like the trust value that we're reading in our book, and how he's trusting all those employees with those numbers, knowing exactly the finances, opening up his finances to all of them so that they know, hey, we're making it, we're going to make a bonus, or hey, we're not making it, we need to do something about it if we want to make a bonus this month. And I thought that helped make the employees really want to work hard and do better in his stores.
Yeah, one of the stupidest things that has happened at my company recently is we had a competition among all the stores of who could have the highest factor. So that's like the average order transaction. So that's just upselling to customers at cashier. And the bonus to people who are like, well, I'm 24 and like my boss is like 26, and like they're like, oh, you guys won, your store won, and we're like, okay, and they're like, and they had like promised a bonus, and they're like, so your store's gonna get a pizza party, and we're like, what the heck, we're not in 4th grade, like this is worthless to us. Like I don't have time to drive to work on the Sunday, the only day we're closed, to come eat pizza with my teenage employees. Like we met the goal because we thought we were gonna get rewarded as a business, not as like little kids. So that kind of really irked me. I was just like, and then I read that, and I was like, that seems like such a better idea, is to share that. Because they said, I think they said even down to like the dishwashers got that, like everybody within the company. And I thought that was huge. Is like, and I think that needs to exist in more companies, because there's many times where I just feel like, especially where I work now, sometimes I'm just like, this is the stupidest thing. There's no point for us to try this because there's no reward for succeeding. I'm going to get paid the same hourly rate no matter what. So I guess in the end, Noodles and Company, they went public. So they franchised a little, and they also went public. So they franchised their brand, not very extensively, but they also went public, like had a public offering, and a majority of their shares were like acquired by an investment group. And then Aaron and his CEO, they kept their same position. So they just brought in public investors rather than private investors to bring out more equity. So it looked like he chose more of the route to keep control in the future, so he could maintain what he wanted to. But they did franchise a little, so they were they split between the two. So they franchised their brand, but they also went public. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Anything else you guys want to talk about the case? Or are we all good?
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right. I will post it. You guys have a good week.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem.